Okay, so thank you all for joining me today. And today's masterclass is about the big shift of Saturn into Aries. So this is a really major shift. I mean, we've already this year had Neptune move into Aries. So when we're talking about planets shifting signs, 2025 is so significant because of all the major outer planets shifting signs. So the outer planets are the planets that move very slowly. So they teach us our biggest life lessons. So they tend to be very important lessons and things that, that we need time to actually figure out and work through and master as time goes on. So with Saturn is the teacher and the disciplinarian. So in esoteric astrology and how I teach it, Saturn is the most important planet in your chart. And he takes 3 years to move through a sign of the zodiac. So we're just coming to the end of him spending 3 years in Pisces. So any of you out here who were born between around about 1965 and 1967 will all have Saturn in Pisces. So we're all coming out, which is me. And Carol, you're one too. I, of course, know yours. And so we're all coming out of this Saturn and Pisces energy. So Saturn and Pisces for the last 3 years has been very much about the illusion that we live under. And with Neptune's also been in Pisces, of course, but he was in it for 15 years. So he changed into Aries about, how long ago did he change? About a couple of months ago. And so he sort of started the ball rolling. And now Saturn's going to move into that same energy. So when we talk about the planets moving, we've got to first of all understand, what that planet's about, and then the sign of the zodiac that it's going to be working in. So Saturn is all about the discipline, the focus, and the hard work. So wherever he sits in our charts or wherever he's dealing with anything, he's bringing rules and structure and restriction and refinement and hard work basically to anything that you want to do. So, he is a hard taskmaster. He's not known for being gentle and fun, but he teaches us really important things. And I often liken Saturn to that, that teacher that you had at school who you still remember to this day, and not because you like them, but because you've never forgotten what they taught you. And that's how important Saturn is. He teaches us big lessons, and they're not necessarily nice lessons or fun lessons, but when we've learnt them, we've absolutely learnt them. And it's a bit like Saturn represents our karma and our fear. So more often than not, the things that he's asking us to face up to or deal with or do things with are to do with what we're fearful of. Whenever you get stuck in anything, whenever you get triggered, whenever something goes wrong in your life, it's always fear that's at the bottom of it. And of course, it manifests in ways that don't look like that. But if you really break it down, it's what you're fearful of. And so with Saturn, we're fearful of change because Saturn wants us to stay in the traditional, old-fashioned, normal, conservative, restricted way that he wants us to be. Because when we work in that way, we're very focused and we're very disciplined. And while we've had Saturn and Pisces for the last 3 years, it's really kind of thrown discipline out the back door because Pisces energy is not particularly disciplined. Saturn's very disciplined. So they've been battling with each other over the last 3 years to try and Saturn to try and curb the desires and the out there-ness of the Piscean energy. So with so Saturn, wherever he's sitting, whenever he's moving through a sign of the zodiac, he's trying to teach and discipline that sign so that it can be more productive. So it's a bit like, knowing that there's something that you can do or something that you're very scared of, but there's potential behind it. And everybody, listening to this now, you'll all know there's been times in your life where you've been very, very fearful of something. But you've put on your big girl pants or your big boy pants and you've gone and you've faced whatever it was. And in facing it, that was also probably terrifying and scary and not a lot of fun. But on the other side of it, once you faced up to it, there was freedom, there was liberation, and there was the ability to move forward. But for so long as you were stuck in that fear and unable to move and too scared to dip your toe in the water, you were stuck. You couldn't move. And life probably wasn't very good for you. But it's very much like being in the comfort zone, is that it's comfortable for a certain amount of time, then it becomes very uncomfortable, but you still don't want to change it because it's what you're familiar with. So Saturn will always be pushing those boundaries to make sure that you are dealing and bringing to the surface all the things that you're capable of. Because you may also have noticed, some of you in your lives, that when you have faced up to these things that you were fearful of, that you found there was a gift there or a lot more ability there than you thought there was, or a real talent there for what you were doing. But because you'd never delved into it because you were too scared or too fearful of it before, you never got to realize what you could do with that energy. So that's all about Saturn. So the energy that he's moving into, the planet, the sign, the zodiac that he's moving into is Aries. So Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it's a fire sign. So Aries energy is very headstrong. It's very spontaneous. It's all about me energy. You know, most Arians, I don't know if there's any Arians here listening to this, but if you're an Arian, you usually don't have too much of a problem in putting yourself first, or standing up for yourself, or taking leadership, or doing your own thing. Those things come very naturally to Aryan people. So when we put Saturn in there, he wants to restrict and control that. So what he's going to do with that energy, he's going to sort of encourage you to put yourself first in everything, but he's also going to make sure that you do it in a way that isn't too headstrong. Because if we think that Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, Mars is the planet of war. So the downside, or one of the challenges with Aryan energy, is it's determined to have its own way, and it's determined to come first. And that's great if whatever you're doing or coming first in or putting yourself first in is for the highest good of all concerned. But if it's only about you and only what you want to get and what you want to have on top of everybody else, then it's not the right use of that energy. So Saturn's going to kind of restrict that energy for us so that we become very focused on ourselves, but we're focused on ourselves and moving forward for the highest good of ourselves, not just focused on ourselves like, I want this and I want that and I'm going to make sure I get it. You've got that energy, but is it what's good for you? And so, you know, with all of this Aryan energy we're stepping into, it's all about authenticity and discipline. So if you're going to be what you want to be or achieve what you want to achieve in life, you've got to be able to discipline yourself to do it. So like I said before, while Saturn was in Pisces, discipline kind of went out the back door. He was trying to bring it down, but it really wasn't working very well. So we're going to get a bit of a slap in the face, really, for a bit of a wake-up call for a lot of people to learn the importance of putting yourself first. And not in an egotistical, it's all about me way, but in the way that you don't have to wait on other people. You're not here to serve anybody in this lifetime. You're here to serve yourself and to put your own needs first. But what what Saturn's going to encourage us to do is to make sure that those needs and those opportunities and those actions and everything that we can have the opportunity to change is going to be what's good for you, and it's going to help humanity and help the Earth plane in a big way. So the last time Saturn was in Aries was between 1997 and 1999. So everybody can have a little think back perhaps to what was going on in their lives then, and maybe think about what was going on for you then that was a bit restricted. So I know for myself in that time, my Aryan energy is all to do with my area of money. And at that time, 97 to 99 is when I had my children. And so I wasn't working at that time, so it restricted my income because I wasn't able to work. I was being a mum. So, you know, wherever it sits in your chart, there would have been something that got a bit restricted, a bit pulled in for you so that you could work with it better and come out the other side with a better idea of how to use this energy moving forward. So it's almost like it gives you a little bit of a rest or a little bit of respite to think about how you're doing things, and then gives you the opportunity to move forward doing it in a way that's much more useful for you and for the people around you. So what else I got here? So because Saturn restricts everything, you know, when we move into Aries energy is all about moving forward, and it's very good at pioneering new ways of being. It's not scared of doing things differently to other people. It's not scared of new beginnings and new opportunities. It's not scared of any of that, but it's very headstrong. So as soon as it comes across something, it just wants to have it immediately, and it doesn't do a lot of what's the word? The groundwork,
Research.
you know, the thinking into it, yeah, all of that deep work we need to do to actually think about, is this the right thing for me? Aries energy just wants to act immediately. That looks like a good idea, I'm going to run with that. That looks like something I want to buy, I'm going to buy it. That looks like a good place to go, I'm going to go. They don't stop and think, oh, maybe I could do that later, or maybe I can't afford it, or maybe I should, you know, plan this out a little bit. But it's just, let's take action now. So we've got to be very careful with this energy because it's ruled by Mars. And so there can be a lot of volatility and a lot of anger that's going to come out as well, as everybody wants their own way. And that's the way of Aries. It's, I'm come first. I'm the first sign of the zodiac. So it has to all go my way and the way that I want it to be. So if everybody's acting like that, we're going to have a lot of confrontation. We're going to have a lot of difficulty. So we've got to be very aware of how to use this energy to put ourselves first, but not in a way that we want to be on top of anybody else or more important than anybody else, or leading necessarily everybody else. It's much more about just doing it because it's the right thing to do. So while we had Saturn in Pisces, because Pisces is such a dreamy fantasy, sort of, yeah, that type of energy where we dream things up, we fantasize about things, we create with Pisces energy. So we got a lot of ideas and a lot of concepts and a lot of thoughts that went through our minds while we had Pisces, Saturn and Pisces. And now that he's in Aries, we can ground that and use those ideas, those thoughts, those fantasies we had, because Saturn will allow you now to create the right structure that you need to get them off the ground. While he was in Pisces, you might have had lots of good ideas, and you might have even tried and dipped your toe in a few different things and tried some new things, and maybe they worked out for you and maybe they didn't. But if they didn't, the reason would have been was that you were sort of more involved in the feeling into it rather than how to make it actually work. You didn't have the nuts and bolts of it. You just had the imagination or the idea or the fantasy of this is what I want. So when Saturn moves into Aries, we get the clarity that we need to be able to go, okay, well, this is what I want to do. Now I can see how I can do it. Where when he was in Pisces, it's all the age of illusion energy. And so it was as much as you might have wanted to get things off the ground and tried to get things off the ground, without that clarity of knowing what steps to take and how to go about it, you were just, sort of treading water or just holding onto that thing or putting it on the back burner. So, a lot of people, has everybody here listening to this, have you all, over the last 3 years, sort of had ideas about new things you'd want to do with your lives moving forward? Yeah. So this really gives you that opportunity to see with that Aries clarity, are these things going to work for you or not? And to actually give them a go as well and try them, not be scared to do that. And that's the beauty of Aries, it will try anything. It's got no problem in trying new things and diving into new water. Whereas that Pisces energy is very cautious. It holds back. It's not too sure. It wants to feel its way into anything before it commits to it. But now we're going to have this ability to just commit immediately to what we need to do. So so what we've got with Aries, we've got that I must have it, I must act immediately, it has to happen now, that real spontaneous, urgent energy. And then Saturn's going to restrict that, he's going to pull that back. So what it might feel for a while is that you're in this sort of push me, pull me energy, where all of a sudden you start moving forward and then somebody puts the handbrake on and you've got to go all the way back again and have another think about whether this is the right way forward for you, or are you doing it in the right way? Is it going to work for you? So because this is so, Neptune already moved into Aries, so he's another one of those big outer planets that has a huge influence over us. So Neptune being in Pisces for 15 years we all really bought into the illusion while Neptune was there, because we had 15 years of being shown illusion after illusion after illusion. And we've talked about this before with the illusions of governments and taking good care of us, the illusions of medicines that are supposed to work that don't, the illusions of where's a good place to be that actually isn't a good place to be, all sorts of things, and the illusions of celebrities, the illusions of being famous. I mean, it's made a lot of people feel that being ordinary or being normal or being who you are isn't good enough in some way, because there's so much else going on out there. And so we got really lost in that energy. So Aries is going to give us that clarity to see who you truly are. So, and this was the year, 2025 is very much about authenticity. But I also feel that to really activate your authenticity and to make the best use of it, you've got to learn discipline. And, for a lot of us, discipline is difficult. And of course, discipline is the last thing that a Piscean wants. And so we've had all of these planets sitting in Pisces going, just do it your way. Everything's good, whatever, just go with the flow. If it all feels good, just go with it. All of that energy, which has been really nice, but we all got a bit lost. And we really sort of didn't know what to do with ourselves. We had all these ideas and we tried things and it was all very, very nice for a little while. And then, it didn't get off the ground. So basically, we've had all of these years to look at our spirituality, to look at the different tools there are of being spiritual. So being spiritual, a question from Rebecca, how long is Saturn in Aries for? 3 years. So it goes on the 25th of May until around about, in 2025, till around about May somewhere in 2028. That's how long it'll take to move through there. So, yeah. So, so putting that energy in there means that, we've got to have more discipline in what we do. So we've had, with all of this Pisces water energy, if we look at water, water isn't always clear. It can be very murky. It moves very fast. Things sort of change very quickly when we're under the energy of water, because it's always flowing, always moving. Whereas with that Aries energy of fire is the leadership. It's the potency of getting and making things happen and getting them off the ground. So with although Aries, so the importance of Aries energy is all this action and getting things off the ground and discipline. But what is particularly important with all of these changes that all the astrologers are talking about is that Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So what this means for all of these planets that are moving from Pisces into Aries is they've just completed 12 signs of the zodiac. So they've done a whole cycle of signs of the zodiac, and now it's time to start all over again, which means there must be change, it must be new beginnings. But of course, for the new beginnings to come in, we need a lot of endings. So we've all got to be open as well to the fact that things are going to finish in your life so that new things can start. And because, of course, the planet Uranus is always in the mix, stirring things up here and there, he's going to be changing signs again soon too. And he's always bringing those curveballs in, which keep us on our toes. And so we'll be presented with opportunities, with new beginnings, and with endings that may feel wrong. You may think, what the hell's going on here? This isn't what I wanted. This isn't part of my plan. This isn't, who moved the goalposts and didn't tell me? It could be, quite disconcerting for a lot of people. But you've got to realize that you've got to get in the flow of it, because whatever is being presented to you, 9.5 times out of 10 is exactly what you need. But more often than not, your ego, your free will, the humanness of you resists, goes, nope, this isn't part of my plan. This isn't what I wrote down in my book. This isn't on my vision board. It's not going to happen. But what can often happen is something comes at you and you think, this is not what I want. This is not what I meant when I planned this. This is not what I put on my vision board. But then it actually falls into place in exactly the way that you need it to. So this is why going with the flow will be quite important, to not overreact to something if it's taken from you or given to you. Just realize that this is what's happening. There's a reason for it, and give it time to play out. I mean, if it's a really big deal for you, you might have to look into it and sort of do some work on it, or take your power back there a little bit in some way. But really, the more you can be aware of that, the universe always has your best interests at heart. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way because he presents you with lessons and ways of doing things that are so outside the box or so challenging for you that it doesn't seem to fit into your world and what you actually want. But I think, possibly you can also look back at times in your life when that's happened, where things have changed and you thought, why did that change? I was quite happy with that. That was working well for me. And it was taken away from you, or it changed. But within a few months or even a few weeks, you could understand why that change had to happen, because the new thing that came in either made up for what was gone or showed you a whole new direction, and actually showed you that where you had been and what you had been doing, you had outgrown. So the Aries energy is fresh, and the whole new cycle of the zodiac, it's fresh new energy, a whole chance for all of us and humanity and the planet to do things very, very differently to how we've done them before. But the big challenge with this is that if you want to get anything off the ground and you want things to happen for you, you have to believe in yourself. So this is one thing with most Aries, even though the shadow side of Aries is a lack of self-belief, the positive side of Aries is positive self-belief. So when we don't believe in ourselves and what we want and what we're capable of and what we want to do in life, then we can't actually make it happen, because you can't manifest and make things happen from a sense of lack or from believing that you're not there yet. You've got to already see yourself as being there. So I think what a really powerful thing to do for everybody will be with the Saturn and Aries energy is to, if there's something if you've got a vision or a dream or a goal or something you really want to happen, you've got to really focus on the end result. Do not get caught up in the how. I don't know, how am I going to pay for it? How's it going to work? How's it going to get there? Because once you get caught up in all that, you're distracted from the end goal, and you're letting all the mischief and all the confusion get in the way of the end goal. It's the universe's job to get you where you need to go, but you've got to decide where that is, or else it's running blind. It doesn't know where to take you and what you want. So you've got to start the process by putting it out there, by saying, this is what I want. And whether you say that out loud or write it down on a piece of paper or just affirm it to yourself, but you say to the universe in some way, I want a new home. And you write down on a piece of paper and you draw a picture of exactly what that new home wants to look like. This is just an example. I'm not saying you all need new homes. Exactly what it's going to look like. You might not know where it wants to be, where it's going to be. That doesn't matter, as long as you know what you want. Does it need to be sunny? Do you need to be able to have your pets there? Does it need to be close to a town? Does it need to have a garden? You visualize every single detail of what you want your end result to be, and that's all you focus on. Just focus on those details, focus on the end result. Because if you get caught up in the how am I going to get there, this is what I want, and I've got no idea how it's going to happen, then you get stuck in that. You get stuck going round and round in circles without being able to manifest the actual destiny that you're looking at. So has everybody here been in that situation before where you've actually just focused on the end result to get what you want? Yes, no, maybe. And it says, yeah, yes, and it does really work. I had an example for myself recently. I've a lot of stuff's been going on in my personal life, but one of the things was my mother died and she left a house and it needed to be sold. And there's a lot of difficulty within the family about it. And so I decided what to do was I would just see the house with a sold sticker sticking on it. I would stop thinking about how it was going to happen, how we're going to stop arguing, how it was all going to work out, how we were all going to agree, all of that sort of thing. That all didn't matter anymore, even though it does matter. It didn't. I just focused on seeing the house with a big sold sticker across it, and it went on the market and it sold within 2 weeks. So, just because I visualized the result I wanted. And I didn't get caught up in the details, because for so long as I was caught up in the details, the house didn't go on the market. It took ages to be ready. Nobody wanted to agree on anything. But the minute I changed my focus to what I wanted, that's what I got. So that's very much Aries energy, just focusing, because Arian people, one of the wonderful things about Arian people is you don't doubt yourselves nearly as much as the other signs of the zodiac do. Some of you here know my friend, colleague who used to work with me doing the retreats, Crystal, and she's a classic example of an Arian who doesn't let anything stop her. The minute she decided, she was told she was going to be a healer, she went out and became a healer. She didn't sit around going, oh, I don't know how that's going to work. I'm not sure how I can do it. Maybe I need to read a few books. Maybe I need to do this. She just went out, found a course, did it, and became a healer. And that's the energy we get to work with now, that surety of that what you want for yourself and what you believe in for yourself can come true, can manifest into exactly what you need. So we're already starting to see some of the restrictions of Aries and Pisces coming in at the moment. That if we use the tariffs of Donald Trump's tariffs and everything he's been doing there, that's sort of very Arian energy. I'm in charge and I'm going to tell everybody else what to do. It's the first fire sign of the zodiac. So as we know, with the leadership fire signs of the zodiac, they all take charge, but they all do it differently. So Aries is my way or the highway. Leo is the other one, and I'll show you a really good time if you follow me. And Sagittarius is the other fire sign, and it's I know everything, so you have to do as you're told. So with the Aries energy, it's that I know my way, and so you can put yourself first, but you want to do it with self-belief. You don't want to do it with, I think I should come first, or maybe it's my turn to come first. You've got to be clear on it. You've got to tell the universe, this is for me, and this is what I'm going after. And it will come your way. So with the Trump tariffs, for instance, so that was a very Aryan way basically for him to act, was to put out there, I'm deciding what all of you people are going to have to pay the United States of America now to bring your goods in here. This is what I've decided. I'm taking the lead. I'm telling everybody what to do. That's very, very Aryan energy. And it's kind of blown up a little bit, but that was the initiation of that energy. So it's and so when we're very sure of ourselves like that, whether you agree with what he's doing or disagree with what he's doing, he started a narrative. He started conversations. He started things happening that weren't happening before. So it was a pretty, not the ideal way perhaps of going about it, pretty, in your face and pretty, very confrontational, but it got things happening. It got things starting. So this is what we've got to be aware of. This is the sort of energy we're going to be working with over the next 3 years, where things are going to seem quite confrontational, quite in your face, but that's the only way to get the ball rolling. For too long, we've been in this water energy, which takes forever to build into anything, and everything's got to be felt through and everything's got to be analyzed and looked at, instead of this, no, this is what we need to act on. But as I said before, and this is where Saturn can really help us, because you might feel that need to act on something immediately, but there'll also be that sort of restraint within you thinking, actually, maybe I just need to make one more phone call, or just check my accounts one more time, or just get a little bit more information on this before I act. So he's going to give us that ability to take action, but to do it through a sense of decent due diligence and thinking in the background first. So what we're really focusing on a lot is people will get much more driven by the thought of self-sufficiency. and being able to live off the land, being able to live off grid, maybe even, because that's all about looking after yourself and taking the lead there. And that doesn't mean that you go off on your own and become a hermit and do it. You can create a community. You can bring people along with you. There's all sorts of things you can do with that. But don't be afraid to be the person that goes, I've got an idea. What do you think of this? And because someone's got to be the leader, and it's time for leaders to step up. Because, we look at Donald Trump, and my concept of Donald Trump is that he's the man that's meant to bring America to its knees, to break America, because it needs to be rebuilt. And I don't think he's the person to rebuild it, but I definitely think he's the person to break it. And that's what he's doing. He's doing a really good job of it, whether you like it or not. He's doing what he's supposed to do. That's his role. And we all have our roles to play. And sometimes they're good roles, sometimes they're bad roles, but we all have them to play. So because Aries and Mars also rule war, that will be coming up over the next 3 years too. But what is also coming up another time, maybe not before the last Saturn in Aries, but or maybe it was, I haven't got the dates written down here somewhere, but another time where Saturn was in Aries was during the Vietnam War. And as we know, that was a very horrible war, like all wars are. But as we do know, with that Vietnam War, thousands of people burnt their draft cards. Thousands of people refused to go off to that war. They refused their conscription. They refused to step up to it, because that Aries energy may have been about war, but it's also about you making your decision within any of these situations that are going on. And this is what we're going to really find, is that your own personal needs are going to be very, very important to you. And it's going to be harder for you to go, oh, okay, so we use the vaccine, the COVID vaccine as an example. The whole world was told they needed to take this vaccine, while the energy was all Pisces, which is very much, okay, there's an illusion here, but someone else is telling us what to do, so they must know what they're doing because they're the expert, so we'll agree with them and we'll go along with it. But the Aries energy will go, no, this doesn't feel right to me, or, oh, I don't want to do this. So you might do some more research into it and then agree with it, or something like that. Or you might just really put your foot down and go, this is not the right thing for me. And it's just that we're going to have so much more strength to do that this time around, because it's just going to feel wrong for you to do things that other people want you to do. So you're an Arian, aren't you, Sue? So can you just put your mic on for a sec? So as an Arian, do you find it easy to do what other people want you to do?
Easy to do. It depends. It depends. I suppose it depends if it's something that I really want to do.
Yeah.
I will do it. But if it's something that I don't, I will resist, and I'll find ways to get out of it, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you know a better way to do something than other people, would you give in to them, or would you stand up for yourself?
I think now I would stand up for myself. If I backed it up, say 5 to 10 years ago, probably not. I probably would have given in. But the journey I've been on, I definitely would stand my ground. And if I felt that my way was better for me, I would go, no, sorry, I'm doing it this way. Yeah.
Okay, good. Because so I think that's what we're all going to start feeling, is that this awareness that you're going to question everything, because if it doesn't feel right for you this time around, whatever it might be, you're going to question it, and you're going to think, okay, I don't know if this is mine. I don't know if I want to do this, and you're going to feel more confident to do that as well. It's not going to feel like, oh no, I'm letting everybody else down, or I'm causing trouble, or I'm being disruptive, or whatever. It's going to be, no, I'm going to own this, because this is what's right for me at this time. So that's going to be a lot easier for people, which is really good for people who a lot of people out there who do feel that they have to give in, or that somebody else knows better than what they do. We're not going to be feeling under that sort of pressure anymore. We're going to be feeling a lot more able to stand up for ourselves. And so, although war may come, and I know I've heard many rumors around the world that conscription has been talked about being brought back into many countries, but when I look, my children are in their 20s, and when we talk about conscription in this day and age, it will be men and women between the ages of 18 and 60 that they're looking at, putting up for conscription. So I've got 2 daughters in their 20s, and I can't imagine either of them for a minute agreeing to go off to war. So any of you out there who've also got, children or friends in that age group, some of you yourselves were in that age group, and if someone said to you, right, you've got to go off and fight a war now, I don't know about you, but there's just no way I would do it. I just wouldn't, because it doesn't work for me. That's not right. I don't believe in war, so I'm not going to involve myself in something I don't believe in. So a lot of people are going to be feeling that way. So although there might be a lot of threat of war, and of course there's lots of people out there who are more than happy to go out and die for their country, and are in a different mind space to what I am, and perhaps you are. But I think in general, it's not going to be something that everybody's going to go, wow, that's a great idea, let's all go do that. We're all going to, we should be able to know by in this day and age how wrong that sort of behavior is, and that how anyone thinks you can create peace from war is just crazy. You can't go around killing people and expect there to be peace at the end of that. Okay, if you kill them all, there's nobody left to create any disharmony, but that's not the way to move forward at all. So what will happen is that although there could be a real push by authorities to make us behave in a certain way, or go off to war or whatever that might be, there will be a huge resistance to it as well. And I think that's just an example. I think that if we look at any country around the world that's trying to enforce something against its people that they don't agree with, then that energy is going to come out. So in New Zealand recently, with the hikoi that they had for the treaty, I mean, that's another example of that Aries energy coming in and people going, no, this does not work for me. This isn't the way we think the world should be, or the country should be, or whatever. So people, are feeling more and more inspired to be able to speak up and say their own thing. And, there's a lot to fight against. And so this isn't really about finding a new fight. It's more about stepping away so that we don't have to fight, and we're not involved in something that does not make sense to us. So the other thing, when the planets move into Aries and start that whole new cycle, any planet when it's at 0 degrees is extremely powerful. So when it's 0 degrees of Aries, that's the first degree of the first sign of the zodiac, then it's immensely powerful. And so it's what we call the creator degree, or the reset degree, where everything changes. So, whether you want life to change around you or not, it's going to change, because that's what this energy is all about. We're moving out of the old and into the new. And so, when we get an opportunity for change, then, the best thing to do is to take that opportunity and do it your way, rather than waiting for someone else to change things for you. Because that's what happens, and we've all been in experiences like that, where we haven't been brave enough to do something, or we just let someone else take the lead when we kind of weren't sure what we wanted, and then it didn't turn out well, and you end up stuck in something that you didn't really want. You followed somebody else's dream, you've gotten involved in someone else's story, and it wasn't really what was the right thing for you. So we're going to feel that. It's going to be much easier for you to feel into that and really notice that happening. So as we're creating a whole new cycle, a whole new life for ourselves, and a whole new story for the earth plane and for humanity in general. So it's really huge what's going on now. So Neptune is now in Aries, which we're calling the spiritual warrior, because Neptune's probably the most spiritual planet of the zodiac, and Aries is the energy of the warrior. So you now have the spiritual warrior. So while Neptune was in Pisces, he taught us all the spiritual gifts. So the spiritual gifts are the ability to manifest, the ability to rise above and not get stuck in petty, ridiculous things that don't make any sense to you or that you don't enjoy. And also the ability to do the inner work, to look at your fears, to look at what challenges you in life, and to see it for something that you've got to work on within yourself, rather than blaming somebody else for your problems and saying, I'm like this because of them. That's the spiritual path. It's not about being all woo-woo and talking to dead people and seeing things and all of that sort of stuff. That's wonderful, but that's not the spiritual work. The spiritual work is self-love, is coming back to you. So as we start this whole new cycle, that's what we need to have as our main objective. That's our achievement, to be the spiritual warrior who rises above and does things because that's the right thing to do for the highest good of all concerned, and especially the highest good of yourself. So when Saturn goes into Aries, he creates the structure we need to do that. Because Neptune's all airy-fairy out there. It knows what it wants, and it likes things, and it does this and it does that, but it doesn't have a lot of structure. And we need Saturn to give it the structure. So this is why, it'd be a good time to plan things. So say you wanted to do readings for people, or learn the tarot cards or oracle cards or whatever it is, something like that. So with this energy now, you've got all that Pisces, you've learned to meditate, you've learned how to connect with those higher energies, you get your messages, you know how to understand them, all of that. So now what can I do with this energy? I've developed these talents, I've developed these gifts, I've developed this awareness. How do I make something out of it? And it doesn't mean that you have to make a career out of it. It's really more about you changing yourself so that you've got a better way forward and you're more confident and sure of yourself and what you're doing next, and not doubting what you feel to be true. Because that's a lot of what we've had, with all of this feeling energy we've had with all this Pisces. Feeling energy, you can get lost in it and get lost in poor me and all the other stuff that goes with it. But you also can get lost in that beautiful meditative energy, or that la energy, as I call it, where you just lose yourself in that too. And so when you know how good that feels, you want to do more of it and actually turn it into something. So whether it's your own personal practice for yourself, or whether you want to go out and help other people to learn things, whatever, but you're going to feel inspired to do more with this energy. And one of the really good things with all of this is that the planets are going to be working really harmoniously with each other, especially Saturn and Neptune, for quite a few, probably for at least a year of this for about the next first year of these changes. And so what that means is that you will possibly feel like you're being pushed out of your comfort zone a bit. But what you'll be finding is you're going to be looking at ways that you can harmonize things better. It's going to make more sense to you to find a way to get along with people than to not get along with them. But at the same time, you're not giving up on your own personal goals, beliefs, values. You're just finding where's my tribe? Where's the people that have got the same values as me? Where's the people that want to get on the same, get on board with me and do the same things that I do? They're the ones that you want to be aligning yourself with. So what else have I got down here? So what we're going to find is that as we expand and we grow over these next 3 years, it's going to be very hard to do it without any structure. So this is going to be, because we're so used to over the last 3 years just going with the flow. And although going with the flow is the right thing to do, you've got to go with the flow with your own intention being the most important part of that flow. You're not here anymore to jump into anybody else's flow. We're all creating our own flows, and hopefully all our flows will come together into the same stream or the same river and create that tribe or that current. But you've got to look after yourself first. You've got to put you first and what you want and what you believe in. That's really, really important with this big change. And again, not egotistically, not because you think you're more important than anybody else, but simply because your needs matter. So the other question that you're going to find you're being asked a lot, or ask it, from the universe or within yourself over this next wee while, is what does it take to be completely, unapologetically, and entirely you? And how many people, pop your hand up. Do you feel that you are 100% yourself all the time? Pop your hand up if you do. Well done. Yeah, most of us, we feel a need to fit into what other people want us to be, or to not stand out for the wrong reasons, all of those sorts of things. And what we're going to find is it's going to be actually, putting yourself second is just going to start to feel more and more wrong as you go forward. And even those Librians and people-pleasing Cancerians out there are all going to find it just doesn't make sense to be able to follow somebody else all the time when you can actually lead your own self and do your own thing. So authenticity, like we talked about, is going to be really, really important, but so is self-belief. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself and what you're capable of and what you can do, how can you expect anybody else to? Or how can you expect the universe to? It's got to start with you. And, we're all capable of doing anything we want in this lifetime. We really are, but we get scared, or we get put off, or we get broke, or we don't have enough money. And there's all these excuses we find not to do the things that we feel very compelled to do. And always be aware, when we're working with spirit all the time, you've got your guides around you at any time. So you've chosen your life before you were born, and you don't know everything that you've chosen to do and be and experience in this lifetime. So throughout any day in your life, you will have 100,000 thoughts, different thoughts, ideas. Oh, that would be fun. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, that's a nice picture. Or maybe I could go there. There's always lots of thoughts coming to us, and that's fine. But there's certain thoughts and ideas and fantasies that have never gone away. They've always been with you. And they're the ones, that spirit reminding you this is part of your plan. So if any of you are sitting here thinking about something you've always wanted to get off the ground, and maybe it's been popping into your head for the last 20 years, then that spirit saying this is part of your plan, get on with it, it's time to do it. And when that thought comes to you more often than not, then that's them saying it's time now. Come on, get on with it. Get on with it. Everything's aligned for you to jump into this right now. So, have a think about, or, tune in to those thoughts, ideas that have never gone away, that keep popping up every now and then. And it could be the most random thing, like, I've always wanted to go to Egypt. And if that just keeps coming back to you, then you need to go to Egypt. And you're going to be directed in ways that are going to help you. Because what you'll find, if you do answer that call, whatever it might be, whether it's to, travel to Egypt or to change your job or whatever it is, if you do answer that call, there'll be something there for you, usually in the form of a reward or a new opportunity that's going to take you somewhere and allow you to do more with your life. Okay, so when we talk about, so we're going into a time of spiritual discipline. And because Saturn wants to discipline everything that he touches. And in doing so, he gives us the focus and the hard work that we need. So there's three things that Saturn absolutely loves, and that's discipline, hard work, and focus. So when he's going into Aries, you need to discipline yourself to put yourself first. You need to focus on what you need to do to achieve your goals. And you've got to do the hard work that's needed to get there. Now, that sounds like a bit of a contradiction from what I was saying before, that you just need to look at the end result and look to manifest that. But, we have to be proactive in what's going on for us. We've got to take a role in it ourselves. So you've always got to be the one that starts the ball rolling. And if you want to change that ball and make it go in a different direction, then you've got to take that initiative too. But always asking for help from spirit. Asking for signs to know that you're on the right path at the right time. And things will pop up. They always do. So whether you suddenly see a feather or suddenly you get confirmation, you've been wondering whether you should do something, and then you get a phone call about it, things just fall into place when you ask for messages and you ask for those signs to come in for you. So what we're going to do is, what you're going to have an opportunity to do is really harness your ambition as well. So that's where, within Aries energy, it's that ambition, it's the passion that goes with it. So we can, with that energy of wanting to make things happen, it can be sort of volatile and angry and assertive and confrontational, or it can be passionate, it can be full of self-belief, it can be full of self-confidence, all of those sorts of energy. So there's two ways to use that energy. One way is the harsh way, where it's very much all about you, and the other way is a much more gentle way, which will still get you what you want, but you're doing it in the way that's for the highest good of all concerned. So also the cardinal signs of the zodiac, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and a Capricorn, are probably going to feel this shift the most. So they're the signs of the zodiac. If you're going to feel it the most, then you're probably going to get the most out of it, or be able to make the most use of this energy. So what else have I got here? So what is so important with this Aries energy coming in is we have to move out of any sense of victim mentality, or any sense and belief that you are not good enough, because that's going to be like your Achilles heel. That's going to trip you up every time. And, often we do that in life. And because this is like a 3 years in particular of this transit, what you might find is you have to go at something, and then it gets a bit scary and you take a step back again, or it doesn't work out and you take a step back, and that's fine. But you've got to then take another step. You can't just be put off immediately when things don't work out for you the first time, because often you all will be able to know there's times that you've tried things and it didn't work the first time, but the second time or the third time you got it off the ground. That's life. That's how it works, because so often it's about timing. You might have the perfect idea and it's meant to be really, really successful for you, but maybe it's not this week. Maybe you're not meant to do it till July. And that can be all it can be, just the wrong timing. So don't give up. If you put yourself out there and you want to achieve something and you get off the ground or whatever, and you don't, the universe doesn't come back in the way that supports that, don't run away and give up on it. Don't think, oh, well, that didn't work. What did I even bother for? Give it another try. Because so often it's just about timing. And so often, if there's any of that doubt there, if you don't believe that you can get that off the ground, then that's what you can often manifest, is that belief, that lack of belief. And so you manifest the roadblocks and the confusion and the things that don't quite happen, because you're not believing enough in what you want to achieve and what you want to get off the ground. So every time you find yourself, you've got a goal you want to achieve and you find yourself doubting yourself or wondering about it or not sure, go straight to that end result again. Keep looking at what you want to achieve. Don't get caught up in the details, because the details do our heads in. And Aries rules the head, so it'll be very easy to get stuck in your head as well, and overanalyzing, overthinking, going over things over and over again. Just get on with it and take action on it. So we have to also take into consideration at the moment the big move that Pluto made into Aquarius this year. So we've got this, Saturn bringing restriction and clarity in Aries to what we're going to do, Neptune bringing those higher values that we can put into action, and then Pluto in Aquarius bringing us the ability to create community, common unity with other people. So this is really important, where, Aquarian energy is all about dancing to your own drum beat, but it also wants, Aquarian energy is everybody to be different, but still get along, still be able to work together, have things in common with one another. And then, because that way everybody gets to exercise their gifts and talents and bring something to the table. We're not all just one size fits all and everybody's going to do it this way. And that Aquarian energy is really encouraging us to be different, to be who you truly are. And so Saturn's going, yep, okay, you can do that when I'm in Aries, but you've got to do it with a plan. There's got to be structure. You can't just go, well, I'm going to be an artist tomorrow and paint something. You've got to have an exhibition. You've got to buy the paints. You've got to have somewhere to paint. You need an easel. All these things you've got to have in place, rather than just that thought or that imagination. We need more to get things off the ground and make them real. So the community energy comes in, and also the discipline to achieve that within a community. And then that Neptune energy brings that higher awareness of what's for the highest good of all of all concerned. So basically what that equals is solid solutions based on what is for the highest good of all concerned. So they're not just fantasies, ideas, or maybe we could do this, maybe do that. They're going to be solid things. Because by August this year, all the big planets on the outside will all be in the very first degrees of signs. And I don't even know, I probably should look into it and find out when that ever happened in the Earth's history again. I'm sure it has happened before, but it would have been hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years ago, for this alignment to happen like this. So by August, everything changes. Everything starts again around about August. And so don't be fearful of this, though. I mean, there could be a lot of changes that come that make us all think, oh, wow, what's that all about? Don't react to it. Just observe it and go, okay, these are the changes that we need. And as time goes on, we will see why we need these changes and how we can make the best use of them as well. So because the planet's affecting us, our emotions and our actions and everything like that, they're also affecting everything on the Earth plane. So what we can really expect with all of these changes is a lot of weather, a lot of water issues. So this can be anything from droughts, Saturn's involved, so it's the shortage of water as well as an extreme of water. So it can go both ways. So droughts, flooding, are both things that we can very much expect over the next 15 to 16 years, while Neptune's involved as well, because Neptune rules water. And Saturn, of course, will bring the extremes in to make us learn from the situation. And also there could be a lot more erosion. If there's going to be more water, the seas are going to be higher, the tides are going to be higher, therefore causing more erosion, changing the shapes of countries. There's also been a lot of talk of perhaps, old civilizations or old islands or whatever rising up out of the sea as well. So not just about, things disappearing into water, but things coming up out of water as well. And, there's been a lot of talk about, especially within the Pacific Ocean, of things coming up. So the other thing, in July, all the outer planets will be in air or fire. So for many, many years, I don't know exactly how many, but quite a few years, we've had lots of earth and we've had lots of water elements, and so when we're under a lot of water, it's all the illusion energy. When we're under a lot of earth, it's very much, things are very restricted. They have to fit inside the box and can only be done in a certain way. So when we move into fire and air is the imagination. It's the thoughts, it's the new ideas, it's the new concepts, it's the new ways of being and thinking things, and the download of energy from spirit. And fire is all about taking action on those things. So come July, we're going to have all of those outer planets are going to be in fire and air energy, which means, it should be a really good time for not only for you to get new ideas and new inspiration and new opportunities, but to know exactly what to do with those, because you've got the clarity to go with it. And of course, Aries, it never has any lack of energy. and action to get things done. It's a very busy sign of the zodiac. A lot of Arians can be lazy too, but mostly they're pretty motivated and get off your bum people and get things done. So we've got that to work with. So what's going to be really important if we're going to have lots of fire making us want to take action and run around like blue-eyed flies, whatever, all over the place, and we have got lots of air energy making us think all the time and imagine this and create that within our heads, we've got to be able to ground ourselves within all of this. So I think one of the really important things for everybody to be aware of is getting out into nature as much as you can this year or over these next few years in particular, and ground yourself in what's real. Because reality is going to be really important with all of this. You know, we've had so much illusion for so long, and there are many people and forces and powers that be that want us to stay in that illusion, because while we're in the illusion, we don't have any power. We're still wondering about whether things are going to work. Is it right for me? Is it not? But once we get into that fire energy, you're going to be very sure of yourself. And therefore, the powers that be, they don't really want you to be sure of yourself, because then you're going to be, opposing them or standing up for yourself or being valid. And, that they don't want to be shot down in flames. And so it's going to be really important to ground yourself so that when you do take action, you're doing it from a solid place, not from anything airy-fairy or from a house of cards or anything that's unpredictable. It's going to be solid energy moving forward. So that's about all I've got to share with you on all of that today. Has anybody got any questions or anything they'd like to know about Saturn and Aries? Rebecca.
Oh, that was amazing. Notes. I should have
good.
So when is everything in the outer? Sorry, you're saying about the outer planets? In August, was that right?
Yes.
They're in the first degree. Will they be in the
first
degree? Is that what you're saying?
So those outer planets will be Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, and Jupiter. All the big boys.
Are in the 0th degree or the first degree? Is in the creator degree? Are they all going to be in? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Great. Yeah, so it's and the 2020s were always astrologically spoken about as being the time of massive change on the Earth plane. And we've always, and please, I'm always often reminding you about this, that you chose to be alive and be born at this time, to be a part of this. So you've all got a role to play in it. You're not just here to eat popcorn and watch the movie. So you've all got something to do with all of this energy. So do it. And even if, and that doesn't mean you're here to save the world. You could be if you wanted to. It really is more, if you want to save the world, save yourself first. It's all got to start with you. If you want a better world, be a better person. If you want more love in the world, be more loving. If you want more money in the world, give more money away. It's all what goes out comes back, and we've got to be the best version of ourselves to attract the best version of what's out there to us. Okay, so on Saturday morning, I'm going to do a masterclass on this again, but it'll be like I do the general one, and then I do a paid one where I'll look at each of and so in particular with this one, it'll be where the Aryan energy sits in your chart to show what Saturn's going to do to you over the next 3 years, or what you've got to work with over the next 3 years. So you can email me for to sign up for it. It's up on Facebook. I'll stick a link. And when I send out the recording of I'll put the recording of this up, and I'll put the link underneath it for the paid class on. So it's on Saturday morning from 9 till about 10:30, 11. And it's just $33 per person, New Zealand dollars. So if you'd like to be a part of that, you will need to register before Friday, though, because I will need to go through each of your charts to look at that information before the day. So I've got it all on hand for you. And that one will be recorded, but only for the people who attend, because it will be personal. So we don't want to share personal stuff with the rest of the world, because this one's going to go up on the YouTube channel. Okay. So anybody got anything they'd like to add, or any questions or anything? No, all good. Great. Well, thank you all for turning up today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all next time. Take care and have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.